In the top stories, St. Kitts and Nevis suspends British Airways flights from the UK for 2 weeks. Murder accused in Guyana escapes from prison, and South Korea imposes tighter COVID measures until January 3. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Thursday, the 24th of December 2020. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, British Airways flights between the United Kingdom and St. Kitts and Nevis have been suspended for 2 weeks from Saturday, December 26 to Saturday, January 2 as a safety measure of a new variant of coronavirus was discovered in the United Kingdom. The announcement was made at the National Emergency Operations Center COVID-19 briefing on December 23 by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. The Federation joins several other countries worldwide in instituting the suspension to monitor the situation so as not to put their populations at risk. Cases of the new variant have been detected outside of the UK, in Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Australia, and South Africa, all resulting from travel. Scientists have reported that the new variant of the novel coronavirus has higher transmissibility, estimated between 40 and 70%. However, their initial analysis suggests there is no change in the severity of illness or the mortality rate, nor reports of poorer clinical outcomes, no higher mortality, and no specific population group that has been affected. Additionally, there is currently no evidence that the mutations in the spike protein will affect the effectiveness of vaccines. EBJ Harmonics have won the Sugar Mass 49 Panorama National Steel Band competition. Following a keenly contested battle on Wednesday night, EBJ Harmonics beat out their competition with their performance of Sand to the Beach by Menace, scoring 443 points. Second place went to Fantastic Steel Orchestra with 429 points. Nevis Pan Ensemble took third place with 408 points, and fourth place went to Steel on Fire with 374 points. 7 steel bands took part in Panorama, which Carnival Chair Shannon Hawley told ZIZ News is intended to be an annual event. The show was held virtually and also featured performances by Nietzsche B, Katie Dan, Statics, and Ruckus H.E. In other news, businesses have reported that activity on the 2 discounted VAT rate days in St. Kitts and Nevis on Friday, December 18 and Saturday, December 19 has so far exceeded the expectations of the business community. One such entity that saw an influx of shoppers on December 18 and 19 was the TDC Group of Companies, whose chairman, Earl Kelly, stated that their expectations were exceeded, particularly in light of the ongoing difficulties presented by the COVID-19 pandemic that left hundreds of persons unemployed. According to Mr. Kelly, the company sold some 30 vehicles on St. Kitts and 12 on Nevis, figures that were also greater than what was expected. This, according to Mr. Kelly, was surprising given the fact that there was a cutback in the company's importation of vehicles due to the lack of availability of vehicles because suppliers were closed as a result of the pandemic. Similarly, Executive Director at SL Hosfords and Company Limited, Natalie Kelsick, said they're quite pleased with the business activity generated on both VAT days this year. The St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce has also noted the increased economic activity on both days. Its Executive Director, Andrew Satney, said based on his observation, the discounted VAT rate days achieved the objective of generating commercial activity, considering the fact that the economy has slowed down a little because of the COVID-19 situation. On both days, hundreds of shoppers flocked to the various VAT-registered businesses across the Federation to take advantage of the 5% value-added tax on the sale of goods. All tangible items that are subject to 17% VAT qualified for the discounted VAT rate. We now move to news on the regional scene. In Guyana, another murder accused is now a fugitive of the law. Whether he has been shot or injured by the police remains unknown. Here are the details from Travis Chase.
Police and prison authorities have launched a manhunt for 25-year-old Ishaka John. John, who is accused of murder, early Wednesday morning, scaled the fence of the Lusignan prison. The escape happened between 2 a.m. and 2:20 a.m. Police confirmed that the escapee was seen by 3 ranks of both the Guyana Police Force and the Guyana Prison Service as he was on top of the fence. Several shots were fired in an effort to apprehend him, but he continued to run in an eastern direction. Up to news time, authorities remained unsure whether he was shot and injured. In a release sent to the press, police said that Ishaka John is from Ayfield, Sophia. He is accused of the murder of 32-year-old Jason Jabhari Bowen on October 12, 2019. The allegation before him is that he strangled Bowen with a belt during a suspected robbery on Church Street, Georgetown. An investigation has also been launched into the circumstances surrounding the escape, the police said. In a separate incident, the same Lusignan prison was searched by ranks of the Guyana Police Force and the Guyana Prison Service on Tuesday, and the items you are currently viewing were found stashed in different sections of the prison. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
In St. Lucia, a 34-year-old Canadian mother was discovered dead in an apparent case of homicide at Bourgeois, Gros-Islet, on the night of Sunday, December 21. The death of the non-national comes mere hours after a senior citizen was sexually assaulted in the same area. Here's more.
The body of a female Canadian national residing in St. Lucia was discovered in the sleepy Bossejou community on Sunday. The circumstances surrounding the death of 34-year-old Nicole Dempster remain sketchy. The suspected homicide reduced president of the Bossejou community group, Jim Joseph, to tears. In an interview with News Force, Joseph laments the many unsolved social issues that COVID-19 has brought to the fore and the perceived impacts on the rise in violence and crime.
The fear or uncertainty of tomorrow, and these things raise within us an anger that maybe lie dormant, and unless we have somewhere where we can speak out, against those things where we can start to love and care once again. And this is an excellent opportunity for us to do that, to get back our souls. And as a community group, this is our job. It's not time for politics. It's not time for apportioning blame, but each of us need to see what we can do to care the way God would want us to.
The community leader also deplored the heinous acts of homicide.
Of course, we condemn this act, and our hearts go out to the family of the victim, and we can only imagine, in fact, we cannot imagine what they're going through at this time. I mean, this speaks to the need for not just for there to be stronger legislation or penalties against not just gender-based violence, but acts against humans.
No immediate cause of death was provided by emergency response services, which responded to the urgent situation around 11:05 p.m.
The emergency personnel found on the scene one female individual lying face down, appearing to be unresponsive. A rapid assessment revealed that the patient was cold to the touch with negative vitals. She was subsequently pronounced dead by a medical practitioner, and the scene was left in the care of the police.
Press officer in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Corporal Ann Joseph, details law enforcement's response to the suspected homicide.
About 11:10 p.m. on Sunday, the 20th of December 2020, officers attached to the Gros-Islet Police Station responded to a report of a homicide at Bossejou, Gros-Islet. On arrival, the officers noticed the unresponsive body of a female who has now been identified as 34-year-old Nicole Dempster, a Canadian national residing in St. Lucia. A medical practitioner was called to the scene who confirmed death. A postmortem examination is to be scheduled for a subsequent date. The matter is currently under investigation.
Sources tell News Force that a child who also resided in the home has now been placed in the care of authorities. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Internationally, new restrictions have come into force across South Korea as the country tries to control the pandemic during the holiday period. The nation has been recording about 1,000 new cases a day. Al Jazeera's Rob McBride reports from Seoul.
Having won international recognition for its handling of the pandemic and setting standards for testing and tracing, South Korea now struggles to contain this third wave. It seems earlier successes may have bred complacency, compounded by pandemic fatigue.
Overconfidence had grown in many people's minds and it lowered their guard. We were relatively successful in dealing with the first and second outbreaks and won international praise for it.
In South Korea's third biggest city, Incheon, Jang Hanaram is one of a team of tracers who are working around the clock. What makes this surge so hard to control is how widespread it is.
When
I saw all the new confirmed cases in the daily epidemiological survey, I thought, wow, this is really getting out of control.
Ski resorts are now being closed and private gatherings severely restricted in size. The ice skating rink that would normally occupy the space in front of Seoul City Hall, non-existent this year. Seoul has its Christmas tree as usual, but not the normal ceremony for switching on its lights. That was held online, just one of the many seasonal traditions South Korea is having to forgo this year. Families would normally visit beaches or national parks to see the first sunrise of the new year. Many of those have been closed by a government increasingly concerned by what that new year will bring from a pandemic it thought it had under control. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
Mexico has just received its first shipment of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the first country in Latin America to have a vaccine ready to roll out. But the country, which has the fourth highest number of deaths in the world due to the coronavirus, and its hospitals risk being overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients. Al Jazeera's John Holman reports from Mexico City.
It's what everyone in Mexico wants for Christmas, the COVID vaccine. And the one from Pfizer has now finally arrived.
As the phrase goes, good things arrive in small quantities. We have the privilege today of being one of the first countries in the world with a vaccine supply to be handed out next year. And Mexico is the first country in Latin America to get the vaccine.
But for many people it won't be available till the middle of next year, and meanwhile the country's in big trouble. Mexico City's hospitals are all but full, with very few ventilators left. There are queues outside shops selling oxygen tanks. Monica Avala's travelled from another city, desperate to get one. Like many people, she's taking care of an infected relative at home.
We've come from Toluca. There's no oxygen there. We went to 2 places, but they didn't have any till tomorrow. And I need it for today, because my patient, my dad, can't go without oxygen.
Mexico never really got COVID cases down after the first wave, and now there's more than ever. The crowds in Mexico City Centre throughout December haven't helped. The government's just reluctantly declared a red alert for the capital and its suburbs, closing non-essential businesses. But a lot of people think that authorities declared the alert for the capital much too late. There's been questions over their attitude towards a pandemic from the beginning. The Mexican president and the COVID czar rarely wear masks, and they've been accused repeatedly of not imposing timely and strict enough lockdowns. But the government has a powerful counter-argument. Mexico has more than 60 million poor people. Stopping them from working could leave them destitute, especially since federal authorities haven't rolled out a comprehensive financial plan to help them. Maria Garcia's selling face masks in the street. She says there's no way she could stay home.
Of course not. I'd be ashamed to hold out my hand and say, help me. That's why I'm here. I get $7 a day, even if it's just to buy tortillas.
Instead, the government's opted to try and make sure that when people do get sick, there's always a bed for them. Now, for the first time, it looks like that strategy could fail. Although there were no queues waiting outside of the 6 hospitals that our team visited in Mexico City this week, all of which were full, health experts say that could change this January. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy with a fresh breeze of 19 miles per hour from a northeasterly direction. The temperature is 29 degrees Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are a combination of wind-driven waves and northeasterly swells reaching 8 feet. The weather forecast predicts mostly cloudy skies with a high chance of showers, some of which could be locally heavy at times, accompanied by gusty winds. A high chance of showers is expected tonight, mainly before midnight, with these chances gradually diminishing thereafter. Sunset today will be at 5:44 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:37 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.